Hello there, and welcome to your weather updates on the 3rd of January 2022. So, as usual, we're looking at the weather for our next couple of weeks from all the models on weathercentral.d, and it's looking very unsettled as we've established over the past few videos. We'll just see what the models are showing today, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Going through then, we see low pressure off the Atlantic again this week. More rain, winds. That low pressure towards Scotland and the north of Ireland on Thursday seems like quite a storm. And as we go through again, we've seen this quite a lot. Big low pressure from Greenland coming in. Not as cold as we thought it would be initially because the low is a bit further southwards, and initially it pulls in a southwesterly wind, as you see there, on Saturday. So not as cold as we thought it would be, but very, very wet, very, very windy. Quite a battering from that low pressure. Then that clears off, and we go quite northwesterly for a time. That would be quite cold with the air from Greenland. Then we go into mid-month, and we see high pressure coming up from the south there into the 13th and 14th of January. And then it looks like we're about to go interesting with the weather on the 15th of January. Right, slap bang in the middle of winter. We've got cold air trying to come in from the east around the anticyclone. But then the high pressure just sits over us, comes in from Scandinavia, doesn't pull in the easterly, and just gives us cold, dry, and frosty weather and crystal clear blue days. So I think that's actually quite nice. Nice and wintry, nice and crunchy, and whites. I mean, in my opinion, the next best thing from snow is frost. So, the ECMWF then. So the 12th run is updating. So it just goes to the midnight run. Hover, and we start tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. That low pressure turns into a storm over Scotland. Then again, into the weekend, we see that big area of low pressure come in from the Atlantic. Possibly be a bit chilly with that, with the wind coming in off Greenland. And then we see more low pressure from the Atlantic, and it goes on. Wet, windy, you name it. UK Met run then. And there we go. So we go through, and we stay very wet and windy. Look at that big area of low pressure. Not big, but very, very deep, very, very isolated, deep low pressure. And that really gives Scotland a blow, it looks like, into Thursday and Friday. And if we zoom in, this goes quite close to Northwest Ireland as well. So that's something to watch, excuse me. And then we go through, we see that low pressure in off Greenland again. We go very wet and windy and westerly. That low pressure slowly fills over us, and then more low pressure comes in off the Atlantic, replacing it. GEM then, we see much the same from the GEM. Low pressure off the Atlantic all week, big southwesterly wind, lots of rain. That low pressure gives the GEM has this low pressure on Thursday and Friday, a bit further southwards, so that's giving the west coast quite a blow of winds, and eventually the north coast. That could be a storm. That could be quite a big storm. Storm Anthony, maybe. Going into the first weekend of January, into the 7th and 8th of the month, that low pressure comes in again. A lot of rain and wind from that. That clears through on Monday, January 9th, and Tuesday, January 10th. But more low pressure in the Atlantic waiting to come in, and it is successful in doing so. And then more low pressure in off the Atlantic by the middle of January. Icon. Then we see an area of low pressure coming in from the Atlantic into Thursday and Friday. This low pressure is really giving the north coast of Ireland a big blow of strong winds. You can see there's very, very tightly packed isobars here. Going through, that clears off to the north. This deep low pressure you see here off Greenland comes in on January 7th, as we've seen so many times over the past few days. gives us a real battering of strong winds and heavy rain. Look at that. Look at that. Tight ice bars across the country, dragging the wind of Iceland, so quite cold as well. Then just going through to the end of the run, we stay much the same, and more low pressure in the Atlantic by mid month. So very, very unsettled. If you're a lover of dry, cold, frosty days, this isn't for you, apart from the end of the GFS run. Anyway, then we can look at the JMA run to end this off. Hover. We go through, and we see more low pressure in the Atlantic. This low pressure developing on Thursday and Friday is situated further northwards and is less severe. And then again, we see this big low pressure in the Atlantic for the first weekend of January. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for now. I'll be back tomorrow with more videos. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.